2, number 1 is in the Smithsonian. Tell me about is this considered the first like real mountain bike? Or?
That is considered the first real mountain bike ever sold, right there. Of course, my prototype was mine. I didn't sell it. And that's right, you can see that in this photo here. I'm actually standing at the finish line of Repack at the foot, out in Cascade Canyon at the bottom of Repack, the race course, the first
as the winner.
Racing.
Did you get a trophy that day, or
winner.
was it just
I
a
forget.
bragging rights?
I won something or other. I don't know. But this is the clothing that we wore back then, just Levi's and a denim shirt to protect our skin in case we happen to go down.
They got it's a little more extensive now.
Yeah. And there really weren't helmets back then. But these are in this case right here. You can see the same denim shirt and my backpack and boots that I'm wearing that day. Wow. And this is because, we're sliding around corners because the brakes were so bad, and so boots were a handy thing to be in. Wow. And this is our protection. And so I was able to sell all the unspoken for breezers right then and there because you could win on this thing.
That's great marketing. Now, so what's neat about this bike here is not only is it representative, but this is the actual first one ever sold, period.
That's right. And Charlie Kelly, I built it for Charlie Kelly. He's essentially the guy who made me do it because he's approached me one day and said, build it. And I said, okay. And the other 9 look just like that, but he's first in line because he's that guy who made me do it.
So one's in the Smithsonian. Do we know where the other 8 are? Are they still around?
I know where almost the rest of them are. Yeah.
Okay, so if anyone ever sees one of these out there at like a garage sale and it's forgotten about, be sure to buy this bike.
Yeah,
it's history.
There's a chunk of change. But there's one at the Shimano Museum near Osaka in Japan, and there's a lot of them are in museums. There's one in the Smithsonian. I'm sorry, I don't have my list in my head at the moment.
No worries, but this is a great first one too. I mean, it looks like it's not that far off from something you would buy today.
Yeah, it's got two wheels that go round and round. Yeah. But this is the first time you had chromoly tubing instead of the old mild steel tubing. It's aircraft frame tubing, so it's going to hold up to the rigors of what we're dishing out and give you a good ride.
Yeah. Now there's this extra bar in the middle too.
The twin laterals. It's kind of an interesting story. But my road racing frames that I was building prior to this had maybe a wheelbase that was 5 inches shorter. So with this extended wheelbase, I'm trying to stabilize the ride with some way to do it. Now, I didn't actually do the mechanical calculations until after I built the 10 frames, right? And I realized that, wow, I could have made the frame 3/4 of a pound lighter with 11 fewer welds if I went with the standard diamond frame design. That's where I learned the beauty of the diamond frame, actually. But I'm kind of glad in retrospect that I had these twin laterals on there because those first 10 breezers really stand out.
They do. That's how you're going to tell them is that right there.
Yeah. It's also, it also had a hand in turning on somebody else to the mountain bike thing, and that was Tom Ritchey. He was building tandems that had twin laterals, and my buddy and I wanted to set the transcontinental record, from San Francisco to New York on a tandem. And we contracted with Tom to build a tandem. In fact, it's this tandem right up here.
Let me turn around here.
And it's called the Anchor Steamer.
And that's the exact one.
That's the exact one. We are sponsored by Anchor Brewing Company. And notice it has 2 sets of twin laterals. And the way I joined my breezer to the seat tube is the way I wanted Tom to do it. So I brought this bike down to Tom to show him how to do it. And I didn't have this bike, halfway out of Otis's truck when another frame builder, Peter Johnson, grabs it out of my hand and goes off doing a wheelie across the street, and he's jumping curbs, and I could see Tom's eyes are about that big going, where has this bike been? Joe, I'm gonna ride down the John Muir Trail in the summer on a 650B bike, but no, I seeing this tire volume, that's what he wanted to use, this big balloon tire. And so I gave him my drawings, and he built this bike right here, which is Ritchey #1. That's the first mountain bike that Tom ever built, but that's the, he'd already built hundreds of beautiful road racing frames by that point down in Palo Alto where he was living.
And so all you guys were road racers.
Yeah, many of us were, and I told Tom, well, Gary Fisher hadn't bought one of my breezers, might be another sale for you. And number 2 was built for Gary Fisher, and a couple of months later, Tom calls up Gary and he says, you know, I built 10 more of these bikes, these frames, could you sell them for me in Marin? Nobody down here in Palo Alto knows what to do with them. And so Fisher goes and collects them. There's Gary right here. Comes into downtown Fairfax, runs into his good buddy Charlie Kelly and says, Charlie, hey, check them out. You want to go into business? And Charlie is like, yeah. And they pull together, what, like $200 or something, and they go over to the Bank of America across the street and open a checking account under the name Mountain Bikes, okay? Now, I don't know where they came up with the name, but you can see right here, this is a Ritchey-built mountain bike. Now, they're not partners. Ritchey's name is on here because mountain bikes nobody knew what mountain bike was, but Ritchey had this wonderful reputation. And so they're off and running as Tom is the frame builder, Gary Fisher and Charlie Kelly building up these machines at their shop just down the street in San Anselmo. And they're off and running as the very first company ever dedicated to this new kind of bike, and they're selling across America, even Flatland, Florida, and Chicago, this new fat tire kind of bike from, you know, these with these Ritchey mountain bikes. And one day, I'm in Gary's shop. He had already bought out Charlie Kelly by 1982 or so, and there's this English magazine, and there's this English gal, and I don't know where she got her 6-shooter or her cowboy hat or her spurs in England, but I do know where she got the bike. It's a Ritchey-built mountain bike that these guys sent over, and I'm thinking these guys are going to send this thing around the world, and that's what they did. Fisher's company, Mountain Bikes, is like was the epicenter of the whole movement, you know, and ground zero, and it went on from there to everyone around the world.
I love that. So we know exactly where the name Mountain Bikes came from.
No, we don't. I can tell you that story too. Now, this is one that I can't fully verify, but piecing all the pieces of the puzzle together, I believe this is the story.
Hey everyone, it's Brian. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm coming to you from resultsnutrition.com, results with a Z. And I'm here with Abel, and I put Abel on a meal plan a couple months ago, and he's been working out a long time. He's been a customer of mine for a long time. And we started about 21%. And where are you at now, Abel?
I'm down to 17.
Yeah, and how's the food? Is it easy? Is it hard? Give me an idea.
It's a little hard, but the results are worth it.
Yeah, I mean, you've always been putting the time in ever since, what have I known you, like 10 years?
Yep.
Yeah, and you always put the time in, but sometimes the results don't come if you're not eating. So what do you think? I mean, do you suggest a meal plan to other people?
I would.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah, maximize your time in the gym and get results.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, so anyway, you can go to resultsnutrition.com and you click on the meal plan and check it out. I've got some other testimonials on there, and I guarantee you results. You do what I say, I'll get you results.